Hello. Welcome everyone. I'm Kat, and today I wanted to talk about a cute little video game. Haiku the Robot is a 2D side-scrolling Metroidvania game released in April 2022 by Mr. Morris Games. Mr. Morris Games is actually just one person. This whole game was made by a single individual, which I think is amazing and very, very inspiring. In Haiku, you play as a cute little round robot exploring the ruined world of Arcadia, an underground robot city. The city seems to have fallen into disrepair ever since the robots were corrupted by a mysterious virus, which turned them mindless and aggressive. When you start, you have a very limited set of abilities, but you gain new skills as you go, which opens up new areas to explore and new bosses to fight. There's also plenty of little secrets to discover and fun characters to meet, and all of them fleshes out the world and makes the experience really, really fun. Okay, so first of all, let's address the mechanical elephant in the room. Haiku is very clearly inspired by Hollow Knight. I know some people might wrinkle their noses and call it a ripoff, but for me, this is exactly why I picked Haiku in the first place. I love Hollow Knight, it's my favorite game. Ever since I played it for the first time a couple of years ago, I just wasn't able to let it go. Every time I think, okay, I'm over Hollow Knight now, I just go back and play it again, or do a speed run, or do a randomizer run. Yeah, it's a problem. So I'm always super stoked to find games that remind me of Hollow Knight, okay? I know I can never return to that feeling of playing it for the first time, but any well-made similar game just like gives me this warm, fuzzy feeling of comfort and familiarity. And in general, I just think there's nothing wrong with wearing your inspiration on your sleeve. Hollow Knight itself is clearly inspired by other games. That's just how the creative process works. Making a game is a long, painful, complex process, and indie games are usually made by very small teams. So if you're gonna spend years making a game with zero pay and certain success in the future, you might as well make something that you love, that inspires you, right? And the way I see it, each one of us is a unique human being. So even if you try to recreate something, it's still gonna be different because it's filtered through your own experience, your own likes and dislikes. Alright, side tangent over. Putting Hollow Knight aside, Haiku is just a very well-made, fun little game. It's not too long, but it does have a fair amount of areas to explore. Visually, it stands out by having this retro pixel aesthetic and slightly muted but very pleasant color palette. Every area has its own main color, which makes them feel distinct and also makes navigation easier. The animation on all the characters and all the enemies is really nice. It's very simple, but it's very fluid. It looks and feels nice. All the enemies are nicely contrasted against the background. Nothing interferes with your ability to follow the action. Listen, I really started to appreciate visual clarity after I struggled with Owlboy for so much. So thank you, Haiku. This was a very refreshing game to play. Movement in Haiku does feel very much like Hollow Knight, but for me, I see it as a huge positive. Like, I didn't have to struggle to figure out the controls, getting used to the way the jumps and attacks feel. There are even poggos. I love poggos. I used to hate poggos when I first played Hollow Knight, but now I can't get enough of them. The hits and jumps are precise, they feel very satisfying, and in general, it just feels nice to move around. I think that's one of the reasons backtracking in Haiku and in Hollow Knight doesn't annoy me. I just enjoy the feeling of navigating around the rooms and slicing down enemies. Speaking of enemies, every corrupted robot you fight drops spare parts that you can use to repair yourself, but also as a currency to buy different upgrades. You do lose a chunk of the spare parts you've collected when you die, unfortunately, but there are specific points where you can store them. So I personally did not find this system too punishing. Interestingly, the healing animation is quite slow, so I found myself trying to be quite strategic with when I heal, and quite a few times I would end up going through a whole boss fight without healing at all, because when I would stop to heal, I would get killed. So I just found that interesting. I know maybe some people might find that a little bit frustrating, but for me it was just another thing to take into account. In terms of pacing, I felt like this game was quite well paced. It kept me engaged until the end. I was excited about every new area I uncovered, and in general, I just didn't want it to end. The bosses did feel fairly easy, except for a few at the very end of the game, but I'm not sure if I feel that way because of all my Hollow Knight experience. In any case, I do think this game is a really nice introduction to the Metroidvania genre. I feel like Hollow Knight, as amazing as it is, can be really difficult for a beginner. I really struggled with it. I almost gave up very early in the game. So Haiku, I think, is just a much more approachable. So if you're looking to dip your toes into the genre, definitely give Haiku a go. Oh, by the way, okay, this is Maybe a spoiler, so if you already decided to play this game, maybe skip like 10 seconds or something. But there is a boss that is just robot washing machines that spins and attacks in twos. It is the Washer Knights. That was such a hilarious nod to Hollow Knight. Well, I don't know if it's a nod to Hollow Knight, but like, I'm pretty sure that it is. It feels very similar to the Watcher Knights fight. I also really like the way that Haiku tells its story. It's mostly through environments and character dialogue. So you find little notes, murals on the wall, just the environment design and level design can be a bit obscure and not super clear, but I see it as a positive. I like when a game doesn't stop to tell you its story and sit down to show you a whole cutscene, and you kind of have to piece things together. I feel like it leaves much more things open to interpretation and lets your imagination fill the gaps. It forces you to pay closer attention to your surroundings and just appreciate the world of the game much more. The music in the game is fairly unobtrusive. I wouldn't say it stands out on its own, but as a part of the whole, it does a really great job in building atmosphere. It has this like haunting, droning nature to it, which is perfect for an abandoned robot city. Atmosphere of the game is just something that I personally really enjoy. It has that melancholic, post-apocalyptic vibe with just a touch of humor and whimsy in its cast of characters. And every element of this game just comes together really well to suck you into this world and immerse you into the experience. In terms of length, this game is not super long, but I feel like it's still pretty impressive, especially if you think about the fact that just one person made everything in this game. It has multiple endings, there's a lot of areas to explore, and also after the game was already released, there was some extra content added. For example, there is a corruption mode where you can play through the whole game on a single HP, which sounds very difficult. I haven't done it yet. And there's also an obscure information DLC. It's a free DLC that was released in May this year, and it added a whole new area, two new bosses, and a boss rush mode. I haven't played through any of those yet because I first played the game when it just came out, but I am definitely gonna check it out. Overall, this game is just a great experience in my opinion. It knows what it wants to do, and it does it really well. It feels like a complete polished experience, which is especially impressive, knowing that there's only one person behind it. You can really feel how much care and passion was put into this game. So, if anything of what I described sounds interesting, caught your fancy, tickled your curiosity bone, please go and play it, support the developer. I really think it's worth it. And yeah, that is gonna be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great time zone, and I'll see you next time. Bye.